home of the Chicago Cubs.
Celebrating 100 years at Wrigley Field, live in Chicago this morning. A little brisk out, but here with us now, the co-owners of the Chicago Cubs, Chairman Tom Ricketts, Board of Directors and members Laura and Todd Ricketts. You're all part of the Ricketts family, and there's one more Ricketts child who's busy running for governor, right?
Yeah, Pete has a debate tonight, right?
He does.
Yeah, that's right. So we got to give a little shout out to Pete.
Hey, Pete!
It's so great. The Ricketts family. There's four
Good
kids.
luck, Pete.
Very different points of view, even political affiliations. Is it fair to say, like my family? But there's one thing you all have in common. Even the one who's out running for office today, you guys love this team.
That's right.
We do, indeed. That's one of many points in which we all are on the same page and come together.
Thank God,
That's
right?
one of many points. Well, so let's talk about what does 100 years mean for you all? Obviously, you don't really own the Cubs. The city of Chicago owns the Cubs. It's like a trust that's been handed to you all, and I've seen the plans. It's so exciting for the city. But what does it mean to be here on the 100th anniversary?
You know, when we took over ownership of the team, that's from the very beginning, that's always the way we felt. No one can really own the Cubs, that we're really stewards of an amazing tradition that's so important to the city of Chicago and so important to baseball.
Yeah, and you showed me the plans.
Yeah.
About what's going to happen in this stadium over the next 3, 4, 5 years. Talk about it, because it's really exciting.
You guys have big dreams, Todd.
Yeah, I think that when we took over the team, one of the things we said right away was that we need to have world-class facilities to have a world-class baseball team. And we built a new facility in the Dominican Republic. We have a new spring training facility down in Mesa. And now we just need to make this old girl a modern ballpark so we can win some games.
You know, part of the deal in rebuilding a ballpark like this is the temptation. Obviously, you've been tempted, I assume. You could build a ballpark out in the suburbs, closer to the airport or whatever, but this is such an institution. It's such a museum. But the degree of difficulty in refurbishing it, as happened with Fenway Park, talk a bit about that and about how you, despite the difficulty, it's going ahead.
Well, I mean, it's always been our first goal to try to save Wrigley, and there's a lot of options that we have, and we've always focused on what we can do to save the park. But the fact is, we can make Wrigley great. I mean, the fact is that it's just like with Fenway, there's a lot that has to go into it. It's a $375 million project. Most of that is steel, electrical, concrete, plumbing, those kind of things. So we can save it for the next generation of fans, and we can make it better for fans and players. The fact is that everybody, when they get to Wrigley and they're in their chair, they're really in their happy place. They're watching the game, best place to watch baseball, most beautiful place to watch baseball. But when they get up and go to the concourse, there's a lot of inconveniences that we can address. Players the same way. They love playing in Chicago. They love the fact they can live a few blocks from the ballpark. They love the fact they get extra day games so they can be home with their families. But, the clubhouse is kind of a joke. So we're going to make it better for the fans, make it better for the players, and most importantly, this is the ballpark that, your father's father's father brought him to, right? So we want to continue that, and that for the next generation of fans. It's the real deal. We want to save it.
How have you dealt with the fact that you are rebuilding the minor league system? It was practically non-existent when you purchased the team. And my guy Theo, you hire him, he comes in, but convincing the fan base, you've waited a long time, it was just going to be a little bit longer, but you're getting closer. How do you deal with that?
Well, the first time I sat down with Theo, whatever, 3+ years ago, I said, do whatever you have to do to get this done the right way. I promise you, the fans will support you. And, we have 105 years of what doesn't work, right?
Yeah.
So the fans get it. I walk around the park every single game, and people come up to me and say, just keep it up. Don't panic. No shortcuts. Do it the right way. Let's get a winner, and let's do it in a way that gives us a consistent winner and one that is always contending, not just one lucky year.
I'd just add to that. I think a big part of it is that we're fans ourselves. We hate losing. We get it. We get it when we come to the park every day. So we got an emotional tie, and we want to make this thing win.
So you guys are all from Nebraska, but you all came to school in Chicago, right?
Did.
Yep.
And that's where your love for the team grew, right?
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, Kansas City Royals have a minor league team in Omaha. It was the Omaha Royals back then. We were much more likely to follow the Royals than the Cubs, but we all came here to Chicago, and of course the Cubs are just such an iconic institution here and throughout baseball. But how could you, we were all hooked. How could you not be, after experiencing baseball here?
Unbelievable.
What are some of the challenges that you think you will face working to make this expansion happen? Because looking at the model that Todd showed us last night, it's beautiful, and you're going to have a hotel put in, and there's going to be a lot of different opportunities to attract people, not just to the ballpark, but to the area. Having said that, that's got to be complicated when you try and put it to pen and paper.
Yeah.
How many years have we been working on this?
How many years have you been
It's already
working on
been
this?
pretty complicated. But we've come a long way. And as you point out, it's not just fixing the ballpark, and it's not just putting up a sign or
you got to
adding,
fit in the community.
Yeah, it's an entire project that will be just a wonderful addition to the neighborhood and to the city. So we're really excited to get it started. We have a few challenges left. Obviously, we have to work through some of the neighborhood issues, but I think we're getting pretty close, and I think we'll get started pretty soon.
Sorry, what's it going to cost, and how long is it going to take?
Well,
When's it going to be done?
Well, it's about a 4-year project. The park is probably $375 for the park, and about maybe close to $200 outside the park.
Okay.
You talk about the neighborhood and dealing with the neighborhood. You look back here, and this last night was my first time I came here, but you look back and you look at these restaurants and these buildings that have bleachers on top of them. That adds a whole new dimension, doesn't it? Some of the challenges.
It's been interesting. Obviously the rooftops have been a part of Wrigley for a little while, but as they've commercialized, the nature of them has changed, and the nature of the park is changing. A little bit of the neighborhood is changing, and so.
And by the way, while people are looking at this, you may not be able to tell on a two-dimensional camera, but outside of Wrigley, right across the street, you have bars and restaurants that have bleachers on top of them. When you're sitting in the park, when you first sit down, they actually look like they're part of the park, right? I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, but Wrigley's changing a little bit, and to turn Wrigley into a modern ballpark, some of these things are going to have to give a little bit.
But what you also have here is you have in and around Fenway, now that it's being refurbished and rebuilt, has happened at Camden Yards, Coors, the Lodo area of Denver, and many other. But the ballpark itself attracts whole aspects of a brand new urban neighborhood around. Is that the plan here? Is that what's going on?
Yeah, well, absolutely. I think that one difference with the area around here is it always was residential.
Yeah.
There's a lot of families in the neighborhood, a lot of singles. It's really been a great neighborhood for a long time. But right around the park, it's kind of a dead zone on non-game days.
Yeah.
So our plan is to put a nice plaza outside that we can activate all year round, put a hotel, which the neighbors desperately need in this neighborhood, and just kind of like, kind of give it a big refresh. And it'll be better on game days for people coming to the park, but it'll really be better on non-game days for people that live in the neighborhood.
Speaking of game day, Willie Geist, he's already out in the outfield. He thinks he's playing the game today. Willie Geist, take it away.
I'd be playing a very deep right field on top of the bleachers here. So this is Sheffield Avenue here along right field. You've got Waveland along left field. So this is where some of the home run balls end up. This started, as you guys were many, many years ago, as a very organic thing. If you lived in one of these buildings, you were lucky enough, you'd get up on top, you'd have some buddies over, you'd cook some burgers, drink some beer, and you could see into the game. Sometime, I don't know, 20, 25 years ago, early 90s, this became a very commercial enterprise. So all of these buildings, as you can see now as we sweep across Sheffield, have bleachers on top, including all the way down to the corner of Addison there, where you can bleachers too. So obviously people are making money on this, and that's something the Ricketts family will be working out with the Murphy's Bleachers down at the end is perhaps the most famous, down at the corner here of London.
All right, we're losing Willie's mic here, but without knowing all the details of this, I've got a feeling, looking at those buildings and looking at those bleachers on top, I would rather be negotiating with Vladimir Putin